Hello everyone, Ricky here, Ricky Dragoni. I wanted to take a little time and make one of these videos about Puerto Rico. I know some of you have asked, every time somebody asks, you can feel how tense and uncomfortable they are about it. But you know, we took a trip here recently back home. It was so needed. It had been over 2 years, I think. So, my soul really needed home, the beach, family. It was a good trip. But Maria is not done with the island yet. And it's been 2 years and just a distant memory to some people. I've had people, well, what's the name of the hurricane? It's just gone. I mean, we live in a society saturated with news, whether they're good, bad, real, fluff, all kinds of stuff. I mean, I saw the local news here the other day. They had this segment. I didn't watch it because I refused. But they kept pumping it up all day. It was about colors, professional colors, and of course the color was a female. It's like if I try to go into that business, it probably get arrested the first day. But I digress. So back to Puerto Rico and Maria. So here's what I saw. Not what I heard. Not what somebody told me. Not what I saw. This is what I saw with my own eyes. Felt with my skin. Heard with my eyes. And touched my soul. We stayed in a few different places. We stayed in Fajardo, which is in the northeast of the island. My cousin, Janet, Titi Charming. Probably one of my favorite people in the galaxy. Let us stay there at her apartment. There, Fajardo's a smaller town. It's there's resorts. There's a lot of tourists. But when I dove, I remember we were trying to find the best bread in town. I don't know the bakeries there, and if you don't know Puerto Rican bread, go try it. You'll fall in love. And so I decided I wanted to visit all these different bakeries and buy a loaf of bread and then try them, like I had a little dice thing, and figure out what bread we wanted to buy for the rest of the vacation. Some of them are too sweet, some of them are too dry. It's a lot of taste, so you gotta figure out the one you like. So as we drove through this little town and dove into like the plaza, the central part of town, I noticed a lot of buildings that closed and never opened. I could tell they closed for the hurricane. How? On the windows they still had the storm. It almost looks like a tin roof, and you put in all the glass windows. I remember my last summer in high school, we had a lot of hurricane warnings, and I worked at a bookstore, and we had this strip mall, lots of glass windows. And me being the big dude was in charge of putting them on and taking them off every time we got a warning. So I know these things very well. Trust me, I've sweat and got burned by them and cut by them many times as a young man. So that was sad. I didn't know why at the time they never opened back up. Later on, as I met with an uncle of mine, the reason came out. In San Juan, I really didn't spend much time. I mean, we were thinking about going to El Morro. I don't know, it's just been there, done that, and it was more of a relaxation and family kind of trip. We did go to Ponce a lot, my hometown. Ponce, 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 Ponce. If you don't know Ponce, check it out. Ponce, Ponce, lo demás parking. Yeah, I said it. What are you going to do about it, huh? So in Ponce, things, it's a bigger city, it's about the size of Des Moines, if not bigger, really. Things seem to be a little bit more, recuperated from the ordeal of Maria. And I think it was one of my uncles told me that the La Guancha was back open. And La Guancha is a very famous boardwalk back home. It's about, 2 football fields long. It's it has a lot of kiosks. It was this boardwalk. You can walk in and walk over. The marinas across the way. They would have shows and a little theater they had. As a kid, you would go there and hang out as a teenager, and people go there. It's kind of a social place to drink, hang out, just socialize. So I was very excited because I remember when the Maria happened, I saw pictures of boats on the boardwalk. And this is not a little dock. I mean, this is a boardwalk, legit. So I got excited, and we had some time before visiting family. So, hey, let's go check it out. So it was during the day. Nobody was there, of course. Very few people. So we park. We start walking towards the boardwalk. The kiosks are open. They're serving food. They're drinking. And there was a big group of military dudes there having lunch. And then reality hit. As we went between two of the kiosk buildings, it was, you can't cross. And the boardwalk in that area was missing. And that was a little shocking, 2 years after, to still have it that way. And I said, well, maybe it's open further down. And we follow it all the way down, and it was restricted access, don't cross. And I think the visual that stuck with me the most, it was one timber. It had to be about an 8x8 or 6x6. I'm not a carpenter, but it was big enough. It was bent. And the force to do that, the weathering to do that, and the fact that that institution of my hometown didn't exist anymore was really sad. It was I have to admit, it was one of the saddest things I saw. Along that, we stayed in La Plaza, the town square, and everything looked pretty okay. There was a lot of buildings that were renovating, so you could tell they're still working on them. They had damage. Some of these buildings are older than the U.S. So, but what really got me, I went to see my friend Jorge. He's an illusionist, a magician, which he's helping me with the Great Dragoni, the book I'm writing right now. So I went to meet him, get a little behind the scenes of what it is like to be a magician. It was awesome. It was like I went into the Batcave. I'm still like about it. He had just been working that day. He's doing some motivational speaking through magic, and he literally didn't have a t-shirt on, and we were walking out, no t-shirt. He pulls out this little thing and does a couple of tricks with me. I was like, you always think they have something up your sleeve. It was awesome. It was a great experience. But on the drive there, Ponce is known for their faroles, their little lampposts, old school. They rolled off. They were dead. And that made me sad again. I have to admit, it was strange to see my town that dark. And lastly, coming back to the starting point on buildings not opening, I was having a lunch with my uncle, Marty, and he's an engineer. He has a firm. He's construction engineer. I think it's HVAC kind of stuff. And he told me he lives in this big house, and he was telling us how this big oak fell on his house. Back home, houses are concrete usually. This is concrete, so there was some damage, but it wasn't like a collapsed house. So being an engineer, he was out there measuring and this and that, so he knew all the measurements and all the requirements to fix this, because that's what he does for a living. So when he's telling us, when the adjuster came, he was trying to tell him, oh no, it's only this much. And he's like, the hell it is. It's like, I know what I'm talking about. These are the measurements. This is what it's going to take to fix this. So as he tells us, he just told the guy to leave. He called the insurance company, somebody else, and know what they're doing. So after some back and forth, he finally got the insurance company to agree to what he was saying. The man does this for a living. He knows what he's talking about. But it was then and it clicked why all this other businesses in the small towns had closed. That's why it clicked when there was one tin roof I saw in a house. It was curved. It was so crazy. And why so many people left the island. It wasn't just the devastation of the Hurricane Maria and what happened. It was also the predatory practice of the insurance companies. We can talk all day about corruption in the U.S., corruption in Puerto Rico, where the money went, water here, this happens. I understand all that. It was a complete cluster mess. Or lack of, we really want to say something else. But then the people, when they want to say, hey, you know, I paid for this insurance and this is damage, it's like, well, you know, it's gonna take $20,000 to fix your house or your business, but here's $5,000. What do people do? What do people do? And a lot of those people don't have the know-how my uncle does. And if he hadn't fought it, he would just gotten what the insurance company told him, and he would have been screwed. And that's what happened to a lot of people back home. So, in summary, you know, the island's running. We're resilient people. We're not gonna lay down and cry all day. But it is still messed up, and there's a long way. I still see 1 or 2 more years of just to be back to where it was before. It's not done. A lot of people left. A lot of people didn't leave just because they wanted to, because they had to, and that's sad. And think about that for a second. That you had to, how would you feel if you had to leave your home because it was destroyed by a natural disaster? Then your government failed you, your step-parent government fails you, and the insurance you have been paying for fails you. How harrowing and desperate would that be to you? That's what a lot of Puerto Ricans have to deal with, and are still dealing with. So that's kind of my little Maria update 2 years after, from what I saw, what I experienced. So hopefully that enlightens you a little bit. And thank you for watching. I know this wasn't the most uplifting one of all my videos, but it needed to be said. And I appreciate you listening very much. Thank you very much. Happy reading.